Joining me now to discuss is JPMorgan's Global Chairman of Investment Banking and Capital Markets, Liz Myers. Liz, thanks for being here.
Oh, great to be here.
So we saw the IPO window opening, and then, of course, over the last 28 days, we've had this government shutdown. So how would you characterize the pipeline now and just the overall sentiment around the capital markets?
Well, I would say notwithstanding this brief pause in things, the IPO market's been really vibrant, and I think what's been notable is just the breadth of types of companies. On one end of the spectrum, you'll have a circle and a bullish that has really broad retail and institutional interest. And then on the other side, you'll have a name like Alliance Laundry in the industrial space. It's a consistent but slower grower, getting equally good reception. And in the middle, BlackRock Coffee, Neptune, the flood insurance company, high growth small caps that have done great as well.
Yeah, there's been a lot of breadth for sure. And one of the missing pieces that people talk about is just the sponsor-backed IPOs, the LBOs coming to market, and kind of what that means for the flywheel of overall deal making as it pertains to sponsor-backed IPOs, but also sponsor-backed M&A because of the dual track processes that come with that. We just saw Medline file, which I know is a JPMorgan. JPMorgan's an underwriter there. I know you can't comment on that one specifically, but what do you make of kind of the environment for sponsor-backed IPOs right now? Do you feel like there is a buy-side interest in these types of deals?
There absolutely is. And I think finally financial sponsors are starting to feel that valuations are fair and represent what they were hoping to realize for companies in their portfolio. We've also seen the M&A market come alive. So there's been multiple avenues to realize gains for LPs and to return capital to LPs so that they can then invest in the next fundraise, which has been a big theme for the alternative asset managers.
Yeah, which is important for the whole cycle. Going back to the idea of the government shutdown. So, we're about a month in. I know it thwarts the process because the SEC isn't able to process and approve IPOs. There are other avenues that companies can take. But how are companies reacting to this? Are they still gung-ho about moving forward? Because as I look at the calendar, given Thanksgiving and given Christmas, there are only a few more weeks that companies can realistically price and go public for the remainder of the year.
Some companies have used an avenue to be able to price their IPOs while the SEC is shut down that involves a 20-day period where you can achieve automatic effectiveness if you're willing to have a little bit less flexibility in movements in your price range or size. So about 8 companies are pursuing that, and the rest will either try to complete something by the end of the year, or some will move into next year.
How do you see the retail investor role in IPOs? We've known each other for a long time, more than a decade and a half at this point in time. And it used to be we never talked about retail as participating in IPOs. Now those allocations, particularly with the deals we've seen this year in the crypto space and some in the fintech space, have had outsized allocation to retail, at least relative to the past. Is that a conversation that you advise companies to have and to pursue? I know it is company dependent, but do you think it achieves better outcomes for the deal process?
Well, I'd say that there are certain sectors that have more appeal for retail. We talked about some of the digital assets, consumer names, quantum. There are all sorts of AI sectors that have broad appeal for retail. I think it's really company specific. Some companies really want their customers to be part of the IPO as a thank you and a part of ensuring loyalty. So it can be company specific in that regard. I think it's here to stay, but not in every deal. And for some, it can be a real accelerant in the aftermarket, which is great, and also can be an important part of the allocation itself.
And your role as global chairman now has you jet-setting, meeting with CEOs all over the world. How would you characterize their confidence against this macro backdrop that for many of us feels uncertain, unprecedented, and unknown given the shutdown and the lack of government data we've been getting?
Yeah. CEOs, we find to be quite confident. And in particular, there's a lot of activity in Asia right now, lots of IPOs happening in India, some big ones there, as well as in Japan. So over in Asia, we're starting to see a big uptick in terms of activity for capital raising. In the U.S., I would say we often compare notes about how we see the consumer with so much exposure in terms of our customer base to the U.S. household group. And many companies are also seeing pretty good performance from their customers in the way that we are.